All right, we're live. Bye.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I hope you guys can see and hear us. If you can, please drop it in the chat. So we're live on YouTube, and so nice to have all of you here today join us. You can just drop it like in the chat where you're joining us from. If you're from Nigeria, Canada, the United Kingdom, wherever, let's know where you are joining us from. We're gonna start like in a bit, just we've started already, but like we can dive into like conversations in like maybe 2 more minutes just to gather more people here with us. Thank you again for joining us. So my name is Folashadi Ajayi, for anyone that doesn't know, but I go by FAJ because like I say, it's cute like me. And I'm the co-founder of Spondle. And what we do at Spondle basically is we are building a solution for parents and for families to work together, not have the overwhelm of the mental load of planning a home. So Spondle is basically like a tool where you use to plan everything household related. And yeah, so if you're not downloaded Spondle, this is your cue to go to your app store to download Spondle. But beyond software, we also believe that for our community, it's important to have conversations around parenting. Hence why we're having today what we call Spondle Circle. So Sponsor Circle is like an avenue for our community members to have honest conversations around family life and parenting. And what we do is we bring first of all parents and experts that are in the like in their fields to discuss these things with our community and just like have like a swell time. And you can also like ask questions that are in your minds regarding parenting and family life. And so today, for today's Bundle Circle, we are discussing something that is very important to me personally and also like important in the age that we live now in. It's how do we have like villages, like digital villages. So everyone says it takes a village to build a child, but well, maybe that was like 200 years ago. We've sort of migrated over time from physical spaces to like the online space. So how do modern parents, how do they cope without having their own villages, and then how can they build villages like in their time? And today we are joined with someone that has done this, has built a community of over 15 million families. um that shows that yeah, there's a need for like having like a digital village. And she's also a digital parenting coach, so she's very vast in this, and I would save my other conversations so when I ask her questions, and can tell us more about what she does and how she's gotten here. So if you are excited, let's know in the chat. I'm sure someone is there from Spondle gassing you guys up, so let's know how excited you are. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you to be having this conversation with us this afternoon? So welcome, Miss Yeti Williams. It's so good to have you on this call. I'm personally, I'm a fan. I'm a big fan. Like I was on Lagos Mom's Instagram and I didn't believe the amount of work that you've put into building that community. I'm like, no way. Like I'm just like stalking everywhere that I can see you. I'm like, this is where I want to be when I grow up. Because I mean like, and then when we spoke last week Friday and you talked about starting in 2014, it was just still ringing in my head like there is no earlier time to start as at today. And I'm so excited that we have you in Spondle. It's so beautiful. We are honored that you're here this afternoon. Welcome to Spondle Circle.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me. Thanks for having me on here. Yeah, I to tell everybody, confidence comes from doing. So just starts. And everything is feedback. I don't even see it as failure. Some things work, some don't. It's feedback. Try to be
Mm.
unemotional and just take it and keep going. So yeah, happy to share whatever I can today.
Nice. Thank you very much. So I wanted to start by asking, everyone says that it takes a village to raise a child. And well, I grew up in Nigeria where yeah, communal living was a thing. My aunties practically lived with us, like my mom's siblings, they lived in our house. And I don't think I saw my mom as my mom until when I was in the university because I had so many moms in the house. But I have two sisters that now have children, and they are always complaining. They don't have that. Like me, I'm their sister and I don't even live in Nigeria anymore. And there is that disparity. So when people say that it takes a village to raise a child, what does it really mean? Because if I look back at what you've done with Lagos Moms, that means there was a reason. Did you think that you had your village. And I think that when we say village also, it doesn't only mean like a physical place where we have people, but the idea has always been that physical place where we have people. But like, do you like, what was it, that village? Do you think that you had that village like in your time, when you started like parenting? Was it like a thing, or you didn't feel like you had like a village?
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think we've all turned this village idea into such a big thing. Like, how many people? How big? Is it 10 people? Is it people that lived in your house? Is it your
Exactly.
neighborhood? The village really is who is in your circle, who's in your network, who's helping you navigate your life. That's as
Mm,
simple as I put it. We are both from Nigeria. I was also raised in Nigeria. The example you gave, for example, about how you had aunties living in your house and you didn't really think your mom was your mom till you were in uni. That was not my reality, for example. I lived in a very nuclear mommy, daddy, three siblings, I mean, three children in the house. Our village wasn't from the perspective of people who lived with us or
mm,
anything, but what does a village mean? It means you have family, you have aunties, you have uncles, you have people that in your school. There are people that are just around you in your life that are additive, right, to your upbringing, to your
mm,
learning experiences. And but at the same time, while I had all of that, my village when I was growing up, for example, didn't include knowing our neighbors. And that was funny enough, it was something I picked up. And I said that when I get married and I have children, I would like to know my neighbors. You know what I mean? So I
yeah.
think for all of us is to really think, what does it mean to have a village? What is a village? Is it just that we have 20 people around us? Or is it that we've curated a group of people that are very additive, are very
Mm,
positive, are positive influences, and can help us with different things in our life? When I started mothering, honestly, the reason why I started Lagos Moms was because I had a lot of questions. I grew up in Nigeria till 17, and then I moved to the US for university, where I lived for about 11 years, undergrad, master's, work, all of that. So when I moved back to Nigeria as a new mom, I had lots of questions about, I had seen a different way of living. So for me,
mm,
the idea of there's one formula to being a mother, a wife, a woman, it wasn't in my mind that there's only one way to be. I was like, and I've always been like that, to be fair, from childhood. I'm big
no
on asking questions. My mom always used to say,
questions.
I can ask questions, Sha. And then I'll wait for her frustration to go down. I'll be like, so what's the answer? Like, I literally was that kind of kid. And I'm sure if I was a child in the days of Google might have been my friend. Um, so for me, that was what actually got me into say asking questions. Saying, work-life balance. Oh, when I went to have my second child in the US and my older one was 2, I literally stumbled on some website called DC Urban Moms. This was gosh over almost 20 years ago, so I don't know if they still exist, but it was through that platform I was able to find a pediatrician that lived close by. It was through that platform I was able to find, I mean, you can imagine a bustling, energetic 2-year-old, and here I am heavily
Mm,
pregnant, about to drop any minute.
wow.
And I guess you can say I didn't have my village because, I wasn't with mom, auntie, everybody coming
Mm,
day. And I was like, I really need to put this girl somewhere for, even if it's just a few hours, a few days a week, so that I can just, and once
yeah.
that platform, I found a local school at a church. I was able to enroll her in. So that got me thinking, you know what, finding, so it's not a lack of a village that sometimes makes you go searching for information. It's just
Mm,
you're curious. You want to know how maybe things are done differently. So all of that to say, starting Lagos Moms really came from that perspective of I had a lot of questions. How am I going to do motherhood differently? I didn't want to follow some of the old ways things were necessarily done. I knew there
yeah.
were new things could be done. How could I blend it together in a healthy way and reduce fighting with my mom? Because to be fair, my mom and I had some very different views on motherhood, and so it was a mix of
I
everything.
imagine.
So yeah, yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's like so true. Because I can imagine that 20 years ago, there wasn't this amount of technology like that we have now. Like, even if there were, they were not this improved and this easy to come by. I mean, I recall still going to cyber cafes when I was younger with my siblings. Now we have phones and iPads like everywhere. So that could have been like a very, very tough thing. But so like in building Lagos Mom community, are there things that you've seen that are like recurring, with that community around having not just information, but people around for parenting? Like, are there like things that you've seen, like, well, parents are drowning in this kind of habits or attitudes, and they're not even aware that they need to speak out to get the help of their community. So like, I like that you mentioned that, that the village is not just about the number of people. Like, I had like a different growing up experience from you, yet you had like a village. And then when you then started like parenting, then there was like another like different experience from what you had like when you were growing up. So like my question is, most parents, or most even parents to be, especially the ones that are like in this age, don't even know when they are burning out. They don't know where when they should ask for help, and that their village does not only have to mean the 20, 10 people around them. So I like that other thing that you said about you got like maybe like a pediatrician's number from that community that you were in. So that means I can have 10 people in my house. I have a child, but they don't even know how to help me. Like, so it's not even only about the number of people that I actually have around that makes my village. But then people find a way not to ask for help until when things have really like spiraled or like gone very badly. So like, are there things you've seen, like in your experience of being in a community and having people that that parents need to speak up like fast and ask for that help that they need, that village that they need, like before it then spirals?
So I think there are a couple of things here. I do think we're living in a time that is like never before, where we think we can do everything. And I think that's the biggest issue behind this burnout. We're trying to do too much. We're not superwoman. In fact, when I speak, because I have something called abundant living for moms that I do regularly, circles where basically we're talking about what it means to show up and be a full individual. When you're a full individual first, then you can be a great mom, then you can be a great wife, then you can be a great blah blah blah, fill in the blanks. But if you are running on empty, you don't even know what's not working, you don't know why you're feeling the way you're feeling unfulfilled or overwhelmed, all of those things, you are flooded and there's no way you can be the best version of yourself. So I think when we think about burnout, burnout comes from just doing too much and thinking that we're machines. We are not. We're human. We have 24 hours a day. We're supposed to get good quality sleep, 7 hours, but you have this false narrative that, oh, if you sleep 4 hours, 5 hours, wake up at 4 a.m.,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
when beds are quiet. That's when it's a lie. If you don't sleep well and you're not well rested, you cannot function. It's not magic. We're not we're not machines. We're
Superman.
well, so if I when I do those sessions, I tell everybody to do like this and pretend that they are tearing a cape. I'm like, tear
Mm,
the cape. You are not superwoman. In the olden days, multitasking for our grandmothers was they have a child on their back and they are washing clothes,
yeah,
or they have a child on their back and they are farming, or they have a child on their back and they are cooking. They are not cooking, checking email, scrolling on social
yeah,
media, trying to write a book at the same time. Then they are getting ready to speak in 10 places on the same day. Then they are trying to bake cookies for the child. You just can't. And that's this, I almost said nonsense, but it is the nonsense that we have marinated ourselves in.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
are
yeah,
wondering when we are quote and unquote burnout. If you like, have the best village in the world. If you are doing too much, your village is useless,
yeah.
right? So you need to come to what I believe in by season living. What season am I
Mm,
in now? And I think social media has also created this scenario where we compare ourselves to people we have no business comparing ourselves with. Meanwhile, we don't know that the person who's coming online to present what they're presenting, they are choosing, they are
yeah,
curating what they want you to see. You don't know what happened in the behind the scenes or before they got there.
exactly.
You don't
Yeah,
know when you just see this and you imagine that they're living this better life than you, comparing yourself to them, and you don't really know their true story, but you're comparing their virtual reality to yours. The second thing I think leads to a lot of burnout is people comparing themselves to people that are not in the same season. Imagine somebody now
mm,
starts to compare themselves to me because my children are grown. First one is off to university. Second one is a boy, so they even grow faster than girls. It's much more independent. It's just like peace out, see you later, call you when I need type of thing. So if now I'm now going to every party, going to every event, you are now
yeah,
maybe a new mom, you have 3 children under 5, and you are comparing yourself to me, saying,
mm,
but she too is a mother now. Why is she always
um,
there? You don't know. I have spent a good chunk of my time where I didn't do all of those flashy things because I was focused on raising young children. So it's important to say, what season am I in? And I believe in owning your yeses. So own the yeses that you say so that you are not forced to say no to the things that
Wow.
really matter.
Mm,
So we need to start with ourselves and reground, rebalance ourselves, recognize that, do a list of the things you will not do anymore, the things you will delegate, the things you will push off till another season, because you can't do everything. And I think honestly, for me, I have seen practically from my training, I'm certified as a coach, all of those things. I'm certified as an ADHD coach, all of that. The reality is humans are doing, as they'll say, you are doing the most. And if you continue like that, there will always be a sense of burnout, not doing enough, and feeling like you're failing. And when that becomes your automatic default, you will never feel like you're winning. And nobody is going
mm.
to thrive when they're in that state all the time. Then you now pass that on to the children who didn't ask you, by the way, to be super mom.
Yeah.
They didn't ask you to be super mom. You're now taking it out on them. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Absolutely. I really like, I think I like the example you gave about, I've never thought about that because we see that on social media a lot. People that have grown children seem to have more time. And then people that just like are starting, let me use this word, the trenches of parenting seem to, they're drowning. Of course, like even though children are older, there's still parenting needs here and there. And comparison can be something that then makes us even feel like in that parenting that we're doing. That's so like profound. I really like that. So like the next question that I want to ask you is this. So we talked about social media. Like I like that we mentioned social media as a tool. Now, the parenting of my own age, or in fact, like I feel like I'm a digital native. I grew up just knowing technology in a sense, and it's like a part of my life right now. I don't think we can do anything right now without technology, and now that also includes parenting. And how do we, like, the parenting of our age is so different from what has ever been because my children will never know there's something called a telephone that had the wire or that kind of thing. Like, what they're going to know is iPads and they're going to know AI. It's going to be like a norm for them because that's like what they are being born into. But it seems like we are still unconsciously led to parent as though the world is still very manual. So, like, how do we, like, I think my question is, how do we, as parents, how do we see technology as our friend, like now? Because some people are still very skeptical, scared. Like, is there anything like oversharing? Is there anything like asking for too much help? Is there anything like knowing the kind of groups to join, for instance, or the kind of forums to be on? Like, how do we see technology like as a tool, like as a friend in a sense, and not like as an overwhelm, like in this age like of parenting?
Yeah. So you asked a lot of things in once. I'll try to unpack what I believe I heard. And you say you're a digital native. You're actually not a digital native. Did you say you used to go to cyber cafe?
Well, yeah.
You're not digital native. The real digital native, I'm just joking. But the truth is, I think, how do I answer this? Or what do I start with? You also said something like, how do you make technology your friend? How do you learn?
Yes, like how do we make technology like how do we parent with
Yeah.
technology and not like against it? Like how do we see it as a tool really like in this time?
So everything is a tool.
Mm.
Imagine if, when you were growing up, or I will use myself as an example. Growing up, we had a washing machine in our house. I can't imagine if my mother insisted that because she grew up washing clothes with the board where they used to scratch it, we are not allowed to use washing machine because washing machine will spoil us. Is it
Mm.
not technology? Right? Do you know what I mean? Is it not
Yeah.
technology? So if you buy a washing machine, does it make sense to say if my child does not know how to wash clothes by hand only, they might have failed in my parenting? You haven't. Washing machine is a tool to help you be more efficient. Does it
Mm.
mean you should raise children that don't know how to wash by hand? Of course not. But does it mean that if there's no light, then we won't wash clothes because NEPA
That's
went and
no,
we
yeah.
have? Do you know what my point is? I
Yeah.
think we need to demystify our evolution. We are
Mm.
innovative beings. We are evolving beings. We're in the fourth industrial revolution. I took one life-changing course many years ago. Jeffrey Sachs. It was a free course online about the industrial revolutions, the first, the second, the third, the fourth, and how at each point there was such change in our lives. I was always like, oh my God, But with everything, every time there's been a change, humans have had to adapt. And humans will generally fall into two groups. Those that are the, adapters, early adapters, the ones that jump in,
Yeah.
the ones that go all in and behave as if there's no downside. That's not healthy. We also have the other extreme where people are like, man, I will never enter a car. In fact, in the old car, so that your intestines will now twist as the car is moving. Do you understand? So when you demystify that, you're like, all these things are tools. All these things are human beings that are creating stuff. Whether you're a parent today, you're not a parent today, you're a parent in 10 years' time, you're a parent from the past. With each time you're a parent, you have to say, what is our reality? How do we make sure that we are raising successful adults for the world that they will inherit? When we start looking forward and realizing we're now in the digital age, where what does that mean? Things move faster, things happen quicker. Access is much easier. I've never met you in person. You found me online. Is it not the same technology that's a friend that's helping us connect, talk? Now we're being able to have this conversation that hopefully is something that will be broadcast to other parents who will hear. So my point is, it's iterative. What's the word I'm looking for? So we need to realize that that's what technology is, simply a tool. You now have to think that, what is my role as a mother? What's my role as a father? What's my role as a caregiver? I'm raising a child to be an adult who can thrive, who's successful, blah, blah, blah. What does that mean? Technology is here to stay. Does it mean I give my child access to all the platforms with no controls, no guardrails? That would be irresponsible. The same way you won't let a child go in a car and you don't use a seatbelt. Do you understand? You teach your child how to cross the road. You don't say, I will never let you enter a car. We're going to continue to use horses because my forefathers were riding horses and not cars. I make it light because I find that when you make it light, people are able to say, you know what? Let's reduce the tension. Let's reduce the drama. To say it is a tool, and all technology is not created the same. There's some great technology, and there's some stuff that's giving us access that we have no business using. So should a child who's 5 years old be chatting on ChatGPT? No. Should a child that's 5 have access to social media, video games? Absolutely not. Right? So technology can be a friend in terms of it is a tool, and it is not wise in my mind, or actually shows a very fixed mindset and negative thinking for you to see technology as an enemy. How can it be an enemy? It is neutral. It is how you use it that matters. So that's what I would say is, let's think about it is simply a tool. How do we want to use it? What are we using it for? And then when we are raising our children, how much access are we giving them to all of these tools? Because they are not created the same. And maybe we'll get into that, is how do you start to determine what access is appropriate by age and by family?
Yeah. Wow. I really, really like that answer. Like, yeah, that's it. Like, change of mindset. Because I mean, I know people that genuinely, they're just afraid of technology. They just feel like are they oversharing? Are they over asking? Are they over putting themselves out there? Like, I mean, like, for instance, I know someone who, lives in Nigeria, doesn't have like family close, but is so scared to ask for help online. I'm like, just ask for, like, they're not going to come to your house and beat you. The person is like, I think I'm going to overshare. I think I'm saying too much. I'm like, no, you're not oversharing. Like, you're just asking for the help that you need. And some people, genuinely think that technology is the enemy. But yeah, I think that's like a
I
very
think, let
lovely
me pop
too.
in there though. I do think that because technology exists, quote and unquote, doesn't necessarily mean you should be going online. And like, to be fair, I don't know the scenario. I don't know what kind of help she's asking for, what kind of she needs. So there is room where, indeed, because technology is a tool, doesn't mean that anything you put on it is okay. You should be mindful. What am I really asking for? Is it true research? And also, you have to be careful where you're asking for help. If you go online to, I don't know where, let's just assume you go into ChatGPT and you ask a question. Hello, hi. Do you know where it's bringing that responses from? Is it Reddit? Is it Quora? So be careful when you say my village is also online, and therefore when I go online, I can just ask. You still need to carefully curate who it is you are listening to, and who, because there's a lot of people out there who claim to be influencers. A lot of people are
Mm-hmm.
giving information, but when you drill down, like for one of the things I enjoy doing is when people are giving all these motivational things, I'll now go and check their maybe
Where
bio.
they are. Mm.
It's not that they didn't go and learn to be a counselor or coach from anywhere, or they just show up and they're giving counseling tips. They are breaking down narcissism. They are breaking down, and you go and look and say,
Narcissism.
what's this auntie or uncle's professional background to
Yeah.
give them? It's different if you come and you talk, "Ah, this is my personal experience with it."
Yeah.
Different. That's your lived experiences. Nobody can take that away from you. But to come online and present like you are actually an expert in an area to move people from
Mm.
that is quite, so we have to all be very
Yeah.
careful.
Yeah.
Something called DQ. DQ
Yeah.
stands for digital intelligence. There's IQ, there's
There's
EQ,
DQ.
there's now DQ.
Thank you very much. Actually, that was like going to be like my next question was like, how do we then sift this information and then this digital village? And like you've answered that. So I wanted to ask, like I wrote here, how do we, so it's similar to the question that you just responded to. It's like, how do we then build this village? And I like that ChatGPT that you touched on. So for instance, I'm a new mom, I don't know anybody, and I need to ask questions online, and I just feel like I'm far from my own physical village. And how do I start? Like how, what are the, like for instance, you build Lagos Moms. Are there things to look out for, like, on groups? Are there are there ways to know, oh, I'm in the right place or I could be in the wrong place? Like how are we careful enough of this village online, like when we are building them?
Right. So I think, even that comment of maybe somebody is going to is having a baby, or and they don't know anybody. First of all, that's not possible. That you do, whoever that person is doesn't know anybody. You know people.
Uh,
Everybody
So
know
that-
people.
so so like I think that maybe the scenario that I would paint is, I know someone who migrated and was already pregnant before they left where they were coming from. And then they had their baby like few months after their migration. They had not made new friends. They came to school, they were struggling. And they, like, the only thing they could do was, like speak to people like back home. But like they wanted like a physical place, or they wanted like more help than they were getting, like when, because they were just alone and they're first time parents. So like in that scenario, like how do they like do that?
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
So, exactly, like I told you, because I'm a certified life coach, I hear things and I drill down. So I was like, it's not
Mm.
possible somebody's going to say they don't know anybody. Like, how? So, okay, that's different. You relocated. There's a whole different conversation to deal with there,
Around
because
that. Mm.
relocation when you are older is such a thing that people don't prepare for, and nobody really tells you the truth until you get there. When you now get there, if you're not careful with it and you don't have the right community support, people in your network who've done it before to help you navigate those murky waters initially, it can be very difficult. So, for example, I started Lagos Homes UK when I relocated to the UK, because I was like, wow, this is me that lived abroad before, but this is the first time I'm moving abroad as a mother with children, with a family. This is a whole different ball game. And I felt I was struggling a bit. But because I'm comfortable with saying, all right, if I'm struggling, there must be other people that are struggling. How do we do this? I started Lagos Moms UK that has become a community with 1,000 women. So I know
Mm.
how to build communities, because I'm not scared to say I'm struggling. I'm sure that people are struggling. How do I connect
Let's
with them?
meet.
Right, make it happen. So, for example, somebody who feels they're somewhere they don't know anywhere, first of all, I send that person a virtual hug, because that's a huge thing to do. Pregnant, new country, no friends, strange place. That is a lot for anybody to handle. But for people like that, what I would say is, pregnancy is 9 months. So in between, there are times you need to literally write down what you need. What, as you're a new mom, you're pregnant, you're in a new place. Okay, what do you need to navigate this season? You need somebody locally, hopefully, that you can see, can physically come to your house, can help you can go on a walk with you. Yes, you have your partner, but you need other people. So someone like that, maybe when she was coming and she made that plan, let's say she started with a coach to say, let's plan your relocation. How are you going to make sure you get there and you thrive? I
Mm.
believe in mindful planning. It could be, okay, I'm going to be more intentional to find other married people in my cohort, in my class, who maybe have similar, and then let's forget all this skin color. People are people. If you show up and you say you want to bond with people who have values, who have similar background, maybe they are also married, they have young children, they've just been pregnant recently, blah 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 blah. Then you intentionally curate what you need to buffer what you don't have. Because if all you focus on is I don't have people, I don't know anybody, I'm alone, guess what you are flooding your brain with? I don't have, is oh my god. And you know
Yeah.
that's all you're flooding your system with versus okay, this is difficult right now, but you know what? This is what I want to focus on. I want to have at least one or two friends from my class that were already in the same school, so there's some similarity, blah, blah, blah. And then you start to form that. Then, okay, you're like communities. Are there communities out there that have, you know, people that are similar to me that I would want to connect with? So Lagos Month, for example, the UK community, why do people come into it? They have all relocated to the UK within the last like 5 years. That's our commonality. So as a result, when you come into that group, you're like, phew, these not just mothers. These are mothers who moved with families last 5 years. So we already have some commonalities. So if somebody comes in the morning and they're saying, like you said, we have scenarios where people are like, I'm pregnant, I'm alone. Oh my God, I just miss home so much now. I don't have anybody around me that you know I'm friendly with.
Yeah.
Some people have reached out to them one-on-one and said, hey, I noticed that you are in my zip code or postcode. Can we meet for coffee? Can we meet for lunch? Meet in a central place, so don't invite them
Yeah.
to your house. Do you know what I mean? So you need
Yeah.
to, I think we need to move from, if we're not careful, we flood our system with fear, worry, what we've left behind, what we don't have, and that follows you to wherever you are going. And then it blocks your ability to find the kind of support that you need.
Need.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So like I would like to touch on digital parenting for children. So we've talked about digital parenting for the family, how we can build this village like, online and even in person. But now, like you said, a 5-year-old should not, of course, be talking to a chat GPT. It's beyond, let me say, it's beyond their pay grade of some sort. What are the ways that parents can be very careful with the amount of technology of like information that is all around us, like in parenting, like how do we gauge the kind of technology that we then begin to introduce our children? Like how early, how late, how middle ground should we even be in, like in expressing technology like to our children?
So, I wrote a book based on over 10 years of research, which I published in 2025 last year. And one of the things I found in talking to a lot of parents is we have digital parenting types.
Okay.
So there are traditional parenting types, the authoritarian, authoritative, neglectful, and permissive. And then you have what I have created as 4 digital parenting archetypes. And those are the ones where if you're not quite sure what your digital parenting type is, you might not be a very effective parent when it comes to your child's digital world, right? So, for example, avoidant is one of those types. And the avoidant parent is the one who just, because they fear technology, they just don't want to touch it. They don't want to be involved. They're just like, that thing is the devil, is the enemy. Don't bring it near me. I'm not going to talk about my children will never have access. No phones until they're 18. No phones until they're 16. You have some people that are extreme like that, but you're actually exposing your children because in the world we live in today, from day one, your child doesn't have to go and seek technology. They don't have to go and seek AI and all these things. It's right there in front of them. Even as simple as you give your child access to a YouTube channel. So you're saying no phones, but then you let your little child watch YouTube or certain channels or videos constantly. AI is inside there now because what happens if you're not intentional is the videos, what happens after it ends, the next one plays, and the
Yeah.
next one plays, and then you have children who become addicted to that video. And because those videos are done for high retention, they're not thinking about the cyber psychology side of how is it affecting the child's brain. The child gets addicted to short form content, lots of colors, always changing, da 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 da. When you now want to put it up, what would the child do? Throw
Start
tantrum.
crying.
They'll throw
Yeah.
tantrum. Or you
Yeah.
now want the child to do something slower, play with blocks, fix Lego. The child is like, I beg, is that so but you can say there that but I'm a parent who my child doesn't have any devices, they don't have phone.
Mm,
Asking them to watching some channels on YouTube, they should not be watching. So I believe in really going deep on everything, because then you are learning, okay, what am I trying to solve for? Right? Like, what am I trying to solve for? So let's just break it down a little bit. If you are a parent of a Gen Beta, I think they're now about 6 years old and younger, right? Those are the ones that are even, sure, we're talking about digital native before. They are AI
Yes.
native. They
They
are
are
AI
AI natives. Yeah.
different. Their own is on another level. They are used to entering a house and saying, hey, Siri, play me.
Absolutely.
That's their own world. They are not even first going, they are entering and they are shouting at Siri. And even that is a very small thing, because if a child gets used to demanding and shouting on Siri to respond to him or her, and Siri should make the mistake of playing the wrong song. Ah, hey, the digital tantrum you will see is Pro Max
Mm.
level. So, do you understand what I mean about how we need to be
Yes.
speaking?
Yeah.
A 5-year-old today is so used to AI shouting on Siri. As a parent, are you teaching that child that just the same way you don't shout on Auntie Betty, you don't shout on BC down the road, is the way you should talk nicely to Siri? You literally need to teach your child today to be
Yeah.
nice to Siri, or you make sure you turn off all the Siris in your house, right? So,
Yeah.
a child under 2 years old, no screen time, no video games, no YouTube videos. That is the recommendation from the American Pediatric Association and several other countries that are actually doing this work. 24 months and below, you have no business on videos. I mean, with screen time.
Screen time. Yeah.
That's just it. That's just people then come and say, but what should I do instead? I'm like, have you sat down to think about what the alternatives are? If you are already thinking it's not possible, then guess what? It will not be possible. But if you say,
True.
okay, this is the recommendation, all right, I know in reality, maybe I cannot keep my child off 24/7. That is still a better place to be at. Then maybe you give the child 1 hour versus just saying, what do they mean is not possible. Then as your children get older, they're getting to school, they're going to start to use laptops, doing research online. Then you have to start easing them in bit by bit and make sure that you are doing it yourself. So have rules in place. I don't think any child under the age of 10 really should have a smartphone. I would even push it to say under the age of 13, avoid giving them smartphones if you can. Give them a basic phone if they need it to make calls, to text you. That's okay. But to give them a smartphone, that's the equivalent of giving them access to the world. And then you
Yeah.
don't put any controls in place, So by the time you are giving your child access to devices, whether it's a tablet, a laptop, because they don't need phones to access all the social media.
Yeah.
Some parents don't know that Snapchat, for example, all of them, they're available on desktop. So I don't need to give you a phone for you to be on
Yeah.
social media.
Yeah.
So if your child is going to have devices, who bought it for them? You did. So
You.
please, you have to take the time to figure out, how do I make it safe? You won't build a house in the middle of Obalende, or even in London, if you think it's safe. You won't build a house below of Mayfair and you won't put doors. You will just say,
Yeah.
I've built my
Ah.
house, let's move in, no doors, no windows. Because no, now you will put guardrails in place,
Yeah.
security system, parental software. You must do all of that. As your children are getting older, you must be having conversations with them. Because if you don't talk to them, you will not know what they have already seen online. That's where I work with a lot of parents to say you have to learn the art of not being dramatic, having conversations with your children. What are they saying? What have they done? And then when you're blocking sites, let them know why you are blocking certain websites. Make sure that your house has something called sunset, but talk about it. That means at 9 o'clock, all the devices must shut down and you must put them in one bed outside your room.
Ah, that's so
No
cool.
no allowing phones into rooms at night for young children. What are they taking their phones to do in the night? What we are finding is when they take their phones to the room in the middle of the night, they will wake up when they go to the bathroom. They will quickly say, let me check. That's how, blue light wakes them up again. They sit on the phone 2 hours. Then when they wake up in the morning, they are tired. They get to school, they cannot learn. You see how the cycle,
Yeah. Yeah.
the cycle.
Yeah.
So we need everybody to be aware, why in the digital world is not good or bad, it's good and bad. It's how you use it, it's how you set up your home for it to be useful for your family dynamics. Do you have a 5-year-old? The rules they need are different from if you have a 12-year-old, are different from if they have a 16. That's how I cascade it.
Wow. That feels like we should have a separate webinar for just that. Wow, that was so good. Like I never I never would have thought that there would be like so much framework like around screen time and technology, even for these children that we call AI natives. Like, for instance, like there's still like intentionality behind when we then show it to them, when we give it to them, how we give it to them also. That's so good. So I don't know if you have questions like in the chat box. There are any questions for us so that we can take any of those questions. But this has been like such a very great conversation, Eating, like so great. Like I think that I like this last bit more, and I would want to like maybe ask you one more question while we like wait for questions to come up. I think I wrote here about mm, parents. I think that parenting is very emotional, like a very like emotional job. And if people like us, or no, don't even say like us, people that grew up in like a particular kind of climate like Africa, they can be like the almost, not in every case, but like in like lots of obvious cases, almost irregularities in how the emotions of the people that parented some people have then shaped how their own emotions for parenting might then go. I don't know if you
Mm,
get me. So if someone grew up in a family where maybe like it's like an authoritarian family, for instance, where everybody around is a form of like an authority figure, everybody's like just dishing out, do this, do this, do this, and then they don't like listen to you, like help you regulate your own emotions. There's a tendency to almost recreate that same pattern of parenting. Like, how do we help, our own children to not be like, to not see us in that kind of light? Like, how do we befriend them and still be stern? Because I think like the balance is always, if I'm their friend now, they will now be disrespecting me, or they will now be acting funny, or so let me just be stern, let me just tell them, do this, do this, do this. Like, how do we be like friendly, be stern, and still be what's it called, be futuristic? Because one of the things you said about not giving phones, some parents think that they are being futuristic by introducing phones early. Like, I mean, there's technology all around us now. Why should I not just give them at age 5 or age 6? Like, I mean, why not? So I'm being futuristic. Like, how do we balance all this authority, friendship, and then futuristically, like parenting?
yeah. I think there's so much. Honestly, the more I talk, as we're talking, I honestly feel a lot of empathy for younger parents, because I think we live in a time where there's so much
Yeah.
noise, so much is this is good, okay, this is not good, okay, let them learn to sleep on their own. No, you should not sleep. Like, there's so much going on, and give them technology so that they are ahead. Okay, now they're saying social media is bad, technology is bad. Okay, which is there's so much going on. It's like, how do we make sense of all the noise? And the first thing is to just breathe.
Mm,
Everybody should just breathe and then say, all right, what is it that we're trying to solve? And when I work with people, for example, I try to make sure that I'm working on things piece by piece. If a parent comes with everything, I'm worried, and if you try to solve everything, you will solve nothing. So it's best to start with, what exactly are you most concerned about? Or what's your vision for your family? I have something called a parenting vision board exercise. So how do you what's the vision you have for your family and your children? You must have a plan. If not, then anything and everything goes, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
that thing you said too about maybe how we were raised, if it wasn't helpful, now what? The first thing is recognizing what didn't work for you. So when I started my journey, I had a lot of questions. So I'm a middle child, and I was very compared to my older one and my younger one. And one of
oh,
the things I
me
had
too, me too.
one of the things I carried with me was, when I have children, comparing will not even enter the equation. And in fact, I said as a result, I only have 2 children or 4,
Oh,
so that there is no middle child that feels the level of being compared that I felt. That was my reality. So now I've got to have it. I have 2 children, a girl and a boy.
and a
So
boy.
there's and then I've been very, in fact, there was a lesson teacher they had that I fired because I overheard her talking to my younger one saying, "What's wrong with you? Can't you see how your sister?" I called her, I said,
No.
"In your life, don't you ever compare children like that." And I know it's a thing of our climb. Can't you
Yeah.
see BC? Does she have 2 heads? But have you really helped that child learn what makes them better or what they're struggling with and understand. But it's once you start comparing and pointing because you are breaking that child's spirit down. So what I'll say is, first of all, is the reality. When you wake up is your morning to say, you know what, there's some things in my childhood, in my upbringing that I want to change. But you can't just tell yourself, I will not do this. Guess what will happen? You will do it. If I tell you now, don't think about a pink elephant. What's in your head?
A pink elephant.
So you can't say I will not do something. You have to say I want to be different. I want to be a parent who then fill in the blanks. So you have to get your brain. By the way, I studied neuro-linguistic programming, which talks about how the brain is a muscle and you can shift it to be what you want. So I'm very forward looking in terms of what do I want and how do I want to get there. So you have to start saying these things did not work for my childhood, or these things I saw in my parents. I love my parents, but I don't like this. I want to change this. What does that mean? Sometimes you have to be willing to do the messy work. Hello, hi, which means you are going to maybe have to go and do therapy to fix areas of yourself that need to be fixed and healed so that you can be a better version of yourself for your children. Otherwise, you will repeat the same cycle of trauma, abuse, and your children are not getting the better version of yourself. There was something else you mentioned, I noted here about friendship. I don't believe a parent is supposed to be their child's friend. I'm not your friend. I'm your mother.
Wow.
I'm your mom. Friendship is a tool to use. I can be firm but friendly. I can be stern but friendly in how I do it. I can be disciplining you and be smiling, but I'm disciplining you. I don't believe in that you have to be a tyrant to fix. You're not fixing anything. You're just making them scared of you. But when you are using friendship as a way to talk, to encourage, to explain why this behavior is not right, this is what I expect. Now that I have explained it to you, if you do this thing again, then these are the consequences. And let the consequences match the thing. Don't say, if you pick your phone first thing in the morning, you will not have your phone for 1 year. You know it's not going to happen now. Like, you know it's not going to be 1 year. So once you start making all those big things and you don't follow through, the children just learn that mommy will just shout. When she's finished shouting, she will forget by day 3. So you want to make sure that you are also very regulated. But a lot of us, can I say, the issue is as adults, we're not regulated. We are not regulated. We haven't figured out what our triggers are. We haven't figured out what is really going on with us. So then how can you be a calm parent? It's very difficult. So that's what I say. It's hard work. But if you are willing to say, I want to be different, this is how I want to be different, then I need to find, this is where the village really matters. Who is entering your village to help you be that better version of yourself that you want to be? Because it's hard work. I sent a message to my, I will say it on here, I have coaches. I have therapy. I messaged my therapist the other day when she discharged me. And I recognized that I've been working with her in this particular season of my life for 4 years. And I just messaged her to say, you know what? Thank you so much. You've been actually an amazing therapist and person to help me really navigate some challenges in my life. And I'm saying it on air. Nobody is perfect. So me that I'm calm like this, I'm okay like this, doesn't mean I don't have some scoring I've had to deal with now. So can we just normalize that we're all on a journey, we're all learning. And when you want to do better, you have to learn how to do better. Surround yourself by people. Sometimes you have to pay for the professional help to make you be better, and then you're able to stay there.
Absolutely. I love that because I think that growing up in a climate like Africa, it's, you cannot even say the word therapy to be like, something is wrong, or even say you want to question why you are acting in a particular kind of way. I recall speaking with you on Friday and I was telling you that, I'm scared. And then you were like, I just said it like in passing. And then you came back and I said, no, I think you should, figure out why that fear like is there. That's so good. So I think I'm like a question here that says, how do we raise up emotionally intelligent and respectful children in this generation? So there is that fear of, well, because our children are like in a very different world, they will not be respectful or emotionally intelligent.
So emotional intelligence is something that thankfully we can all learn, and we're all continuing to learn. And the funny thing is that children learn emotional intelligence best from an enabling environment at home that's teaching them what it means to be emotionally intelligent. Yeah. So what does it mean to be emotionally intelligent? Let's even break it down. We say a lot. I think one of the things about this world we live in is we have language for everything. There are buzzwords for everything everything. Everybody's, I'm going to break up with him because he's not emotionally intelligent. Are you emotionally intelligent? What does emotional intelligence mean? Can you even say it? What does it mean? It means you're empathetic, you understand where people are coming from, you are able to think before you speak, you are able to it's a lot of things. It doesn't mean that, for example, emotional intelligence doesn't mean you can't be angry. Anger is simply an emotion and is an indication. If you're never angry in your life, there's a problem. Hello, there's a problem if you never get angry. However, anger does not mean you have the right to slap people, to hit, to shout, to slam doors. That's where we're talking about what it means to be emotionally intelligent, is recognizing how I feel. Like how you said, you mentioned fear, and I said, go and wonder, where is that fear coming from? If somebody is angry, always angry, what is triggering your anger? And when you are angry, how do you behave? So if you are raising a child and you want them to be emotionally intelligent, but you are not, hello, they are not going to be emotionally intelligent. It's not anybody from your village. It's just what they are picking up in their house is if we're angry, we shout. If we're angry, we yell. If we're angry, we slam doors. That is what your children will pick. But if you are regulated and you say, okay, when I am angry, this is how I process. I notice that I tend to shout. I want to start shouting less. What that will mean is you will still make some mistakes. Maybe sometimes you will shout. But guess what? Heaven will not fall if you go to your child and you say, you know what? I'm sorry I shouted at you yesterday. Has that made you less of a mom or dad? Has that brought you down from heaven to the floor? No. If anything, is teaching your child that, oh, mom is trying to be better in this area, or mom recognized that this thing she said hurt me and she apologized. Usually, guess what? Children are wired to forgive their parents. Is that same child that will give you a big hug and say, oh, it's okay, mommy, say, oh, yeah, let's talk about that. And then why I was annoyed was because, do you see how you can do it? So for me, emotional intelligence is learned by modeling it, by recognizing that it is a set of skills. You can't download it. You train a child to be emotionally intelligent, right? And then that respect, and I think part of that question was about respect.
Yes, respect. Yeah.
Once again, I believe respect goes two ways. If you're always telling a child, shut up, don't talk to me. Is it me that you're talking to like that? Is it me you're looking eye to eye? Come on. You are not teaching that child respect. But if you talk to a child in a respectful way, Bayo, can you please come? That's respect. Bayo, I said you should come. You are not answering me. If you don't show up in 2 minutes, there will be some problems. That child is likely to quickly get up because mommy's tone is entering that zone that they do. So I think respect, honestly, children also model respect. I think our some of this harsh, I have a radio show that I've been doing for over 6 years, and one of the topics we did, I think 2 weeks ago, was the effect of harsh African parenting style on children. And when you're really harsh, you raise children who are fearful, who are anxious, who themselves are quite disrespectful because all they see around them is disrespect. So I hope that answers that person's question. But emotional intelligence starts from you modeling it. Respect starts from you being very clear, speaking to them, sharing your expectations. And when they are rude, call out the rudeness in that moment. Don't use that to say, go to your room and don't come out till night. You have not taught them that, Auntie, the way you answered me, I don't like it. I don't like that tone. When my children, sometimes, when my son, I guess as they're getting older, the way they talk, I'm like, let's take that again. Let's take that again. I didn't like that tone. I'll be smiling, but he knows that, hello, we must do that again. Okay, mom, I'm sorry. And he'll say it again. So, yeah.
Wow, that was so good. We have another question that says, is it wrong to use your phones or watch family-friendly movies in front of your kids?
It depends. I think a lot of parents, they are teaching their children distraction by what they are doing. If every time your child sees you, you're with your phone, you are not teaching your child regulation. Your child is waiting to get their own phone because mommy is always on her phone, daddy is always on the phone. So I believe you need to have times when you're on your phone and time when you're not on your phone. Yeah, so that's how, because that's a very broad question. So it really depends. Sometimes it's parents who work from home that are worried that their child is always seeing them on devices, so they're worried. That one, there's a trick around that as well for working parents. It really depends, but I would say don't always be on your phone. Have times in your house when you're not using phones or screens at all. So, for example, dinner time, everybody should put phones away so you can pay attention to each other, ask open-ended questions. Not, how was your day? What would they say? Fine. You haven't learned anything. But tell me something that excited you today. Did anything make you sad today? Oh, how was BC on the playground today? If you want to ask questions that gets your children thinking about their day so they can tell you about it. Yeah. And then in terms of family friendly movies, once again, there's nothing wrong with that. Everything is within context. So when my kids were much younger, we had something called Friday movie evening. So every Friday, I mean, I only have two, so we didn't have to go too far, but then they will all take turns choosing movies that we're going to watch as a family. We would do homemade popcorn, we'll sit down and we watch. I was also teaching them how to negotiate. So this week,
Mm.
child A picks the movie. Whether child B likes it or not, sorry, because child A picked it, we are watching. Next week will be your turn. Yeah, it's turn by. So there are little things like that you can teach your children. And then, of course, the movies we picked were always family friendly, age appropriate, and then we would usually discuss the movie afterwards. Ah, did you notice? So you can make it a family affair where you're spending quality time together. So I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with it.
But what if the child is like a toddler?
So one thing, when you say toddler, like 2, 3, I mean,
Like, yeah, 2, 3 year old.
yeah, like once again, there's nothing wrong with it, but just the same way you wouldn't really take a 3-year-old to go and watch a movie in the movie theater, you won't go to IMAX with a 3-year-old. So you have to be wondering, okay, what are you trying to watch it with them, or are they just in the area? If they're just around playing and it's a clean movie, there's nothing inside that is going to affect the
Yeah.
child, then there's nothing wrong with watching it, you know.
Okay. You said something about working parents, about a trick for parents that work from home. I just want you to tell me that we work from home, the
Why did I
trick.
have a feeling you were going to go back to that? I had a feeling. So you know, one of the things because I work from home, gosh, I work from home now for a very long time, and I recognize that if my children always see me on phones and my laptops, children, when you say you're working, what does work mean to them? All they see is you're behind a laptop now, you're behind a computer. So one of the things I did was to curate a space in my house that was for working from home. So when I'm in there, the children know mom is working. When I come
Mm.
out, I'm not working again. So it forced a demarcation, a divide to happen naturally. Otherwise, for children, all they see is you're always on this thing or
Yeah.
always on your laptop. So they don't think there's a problem with always being on it. Do you understand? So you have to
Yeah.
be intentional and say, okay, I don't want my child to get dependent on screens. And if they are learning from me, children are sponges. They learn from what we do more than what we say. So if we're always online, that's what they are going to gravitate towards. So if you work from home, maybe you want to have a corner of your house, if possible, another room, if space allows. If space doesn't allow, just curate something. It can just be a living room somewhere or
Mm.
something, corner of the table. Say, okay, when mommy is here, that is work. I'm working, or I have what to do. And then when you get off and connect with the
Yeah.
child. Drop your devices, drop your phone. And something else we need to do, because I do a lot of mental health, digital well-being as well in the workplace, is we need to learn that we're not supposed to be available 24/7.
Mm.
Nowadays, it's very easy to say you're at home, but somebody is messaging you. They will message you on WhatsApp, message you
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, message you on this just because you didn't answer within 10 minutes, but they message you
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock. Hello, you have closed for the day. You will pick it up in the morning unless it's something that's so urgent. So we also need to retrain ourselves that we're not supposed to be working around the clock. We are not a surgeon. Nobody's going to die. Do you know, like nothing
Yeah.
is really
Yeah.
that serious. So we need to build in those moments because also marriages are suffering. If a husband and wife are always talking to other people, using social media, scrolling, they're not spending time together,
Together.
marriages are struggling because we are not building that skill. So we have to be able to draw the line between I'm working on my phone, I'm socializing on my phone, and I'm doing life in IRL, in real life.
In real life. I've learned that one. In real life. Ah, okay. Thank you very much, Mawa. I can't even believe that it's been 1 hour like of just talking, but yeah. I think I don't know if I have another questions. Okay, I think that's all. Yeah, very, very amazing that we had you on this call today. Thank you for joining us. I'm sure that everyone that has heard us speak today they've picked 1 or 2 things. I have picked like a lot of things, especially this work from home part now that you mentioned because I work from home and I think I've worked from home for like a longer time, and so like planning that, okay, like a home office, making it like, okay, this we work here, and then when we're out of here we are not socializing. We're no longer working, just socializing. So yeah, very good. I wanted to ask if you have like any final thoughts, for our parents, around their villages, building it online or building it on site, like any final thoughts from you to us at Spondle?
So it's interesting. I hadn't planned this answer. I didn't even know this question. You're going to ask me this question, but this just popped in my head. I think it's in Titus. I'm a Christian in the Bible that talks about how older women are supposed to teach younger women how to live life. Like, and I think we're also independent now. That there's a sense of this is my truth. So how I want to do it is how I want to do it. Yes, there's room for that, but there's also room for wisdom. And there are certain mistakes that we don't have to repeat. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Being an intentional lifelong learner means that as we're going into different seasons in our lives, who are we going to curate to be part of that village? They can be people you know personally, they can be an online personality, it can be a community. Your village is yours to curate. There's no right or wrong. What matters is that they add to you. They're not toxic. They're not negative. And as you get older, I believe you have to prune your circle. Have to be intentional to prune your circle. Because somebody has been in your life for so long doesn't mean they need to continue having the level of access they always had, because things change. Doesn't mean you're fighting people, but you need to be able to say, okay, this season, what do I need? Where am I moving? How am I shifting? I'm going into a new season now, older children. So I know the kind of people I'm seeking advice from. What does it look like? How does your parenting change? What kind of relationship? What should I be thinking about? So we need to be lifelong learners in our lives as well, not just getting more certifications and all of that.
Yeah.
And I guess as somebody who, has been trained in this space and I've talked to thousands of parents, and in fact, I say that the kind of parent I am, I'm a more blessed parent because of the work I do. And because I talk to so many parents, you start to see patterns. You start to see, you know what, there are some mistakes that a lot of parents don't have to repeat. If only they are willing to learn and willing to say nobody's judging you. But parenting does not have to be random. Hope is not a strategy. You have to be intentional. And to be intentional, you have to think, what am I solving for? What am I trying to achieve? And how am I going to get there? And who's going to help me per season to get there? So I guess that's my parting word is well done with what you're doing. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank
I
you,
feel like
ma'am.
I'm becoming a slightly more mature mommy now. So, and I love talking to the younger ones and saying, just relax, relax, you'll be okay. However, within that, be careful not to let a lot of the noise out there that's not the truth be the truth, because it is not necessarily true.
Wow, I like that. Be careful not to let all the noise out there, because there's like a lot of noise out there. There are lots and loads of information that can just make you feel like you're not doing enough as if like as a parent. So that's like very good. Thank you very much, ma'am. Very, very much. So thank you everyone for joining us today at Spondle Circle. This is Miss Yeti Williams. If you want to connect with her, beyond Spondle Circle, she's a life coach, and she's also like a digital parenting coach. So if you have more questions, you want one-on-one sessions with her, like how to navigate this, I like to call it trenches of parenting. I'm sure that there'll be like a link, or there'll be like a screen like showing now where you can connect to her like on her social media. And then she also has a book. Has a book that we can purchase on how to be like better parents like digitally. So digital savvy parenting. So that's all from us today at Spondle. Once again, I'm FAJ, the co-founder and the CEO of Spondle. If you've not downloaded our app, this just scan this QR code on your screen now and download the Spondle app. Use it and give us feedback. We are building Spondle to help parents have more family time and less family admin. Like, so none of you is like getting, overwhelmed with parenting and the mental load of planning your homes. Just use Spondle. We're going to be here again next month. We would share more information, on our social media for Spondle Circle for next month. But thank you very much for joining us. And thank you very much, CAT, for being our guest today.
Thanks for having me, and have a wonderful day.
It's bye, everyone. See you next month.